Hi, I'm Matt Bainbridge, current BGSU dietetics intern, and happy March Madness. You know what time of year that is? It's time, you're right, it is time to revisit our plans that we made for the new year. So this is Plans Not Resolutions Part 2. So today we're going to talk about a little bit what we talked over in January, kind of go over a little bit of a refresher course, and then we're also going to dive into a couple of new concepts that may help you progress your goals, progress the plans that you made. And if your plans aren't going as well as you thought they were, if you fell off the wagon a little bit, that's okay, because we're going to touch on that too, and how we're going to talk about how you can get back onto the wagon and continue making progress with yourself and your healthy lifestyle and everything that you planned on doing in January. So what did we talk about in January? The three things that we really talked about were the stages of change, which went through the 5 cycles and 5 stages of change that people go through when they are making a change. We talked about where to begin, how to begin, and exactly where to start in order to make that change and to get past that pre-contemplation stage. And then the third thing we talked about was starting small and building on the progress that you make over the course of a gradual amount of time. So the first thing I want you to do is to check in with your plan. First off, how are your New Year's plans going? Have they been realistic? Have you been able to achieve the goals? And have you been able to make any progress? And then, like we said, have you fallen off the wagon? Have you fallen a little behind, or has your journey kind of taken a different path? Have things happened in your life that have caused you to stop doing what you wanted to do? If there's anything that's going on, that's okay. That's what we're here to do today, and to help you make some adjustments. And then if everything is going according to plan, it's time for that maintenance phase. We're past the action, you're already doing it. It's time to spice things up a little bit and to keep everything going. So, but in order to do so, the first thing I want to talk about is if things aren't going as planned. And the things that I'm going to talk about here in this section can also be applied to the people who are doing exactly what they wanted to do and are on track. But if you're not, this section is something I want you to really listen to, because I'm going to go into a couple kind of concepts and I guess kind of like behavioral things that you can do to kind of help make the change and get back on the horse. So, like I said, don't worry. So, like I said before, the 3 things that I want you to ask yourself right now is what went wrong, when did it happen, and what do I need to do differently in order to make my goals realistic again? And what we talked about last time. So I'm going to touch base on the stages of change once again. So if you remember, the stages of change, it's a 5-cycle system. So the first stage was the pre-contemplation stage. This is when the people aren't thinking about seriously making a change. Maybe this was something that you were in before January. It doesn't apply to most people that are listening to this or watching this, because you already made the change. You already passed this because you're watching the video, you're at EFS, you're seeking help. So the second stage is the contemplation stage. This is a stage where people are aware of their habits, and people know that they need to make a change. This is the teeter-totter stage. This is probably the stage, if you did fall off, this is what you're in for a while. Do I really want to make this change? Do I have the time to make this change? Do I really want to make this change? Stage 3 is the preparation / determination stage. This is when you know you want to make the change and you're ready to make the change. Stage 4 is the action stage / willpower stage. This is when you are actively going about making that change or achieving your goal. Say you wanted to eat more fruit, so you added fruit for breakfast every day, and you're trying to make sure that you're eating fruit every day, but it's wintertime, so you can't exactly eat fruit all the time because it's not in season. Maybe that's where you fell off. Stage 5 is the maintenance stage, and stage 5 kind of comes after success. So if you're kind of falling off right now, it's okay, and let's try to get you back into stage 4, because what I'm going to talk about next is how important action actually is. And this actually can apply to people who are improving their goals too. Because what I'm going to go over are some beliefs and myths about behavior. So here are a couple reasons to why, and you can apply this to each stage that we just talked about, but here are a couple reasons to why things might not have worked. Too much too soon. Even though we talked about it in our last meeting in January about this, maybe you did take on a little too much, and that could have deterred you. Maybe you underestimated the commitment and the time that it would take to make the change. This is something interesting, but maybe you know too much. And I'm going to get into maybe you know way too much about what's going on that you're not making the change. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in detail because that one's very important. Because obviously we all want to be educated on what we're doing, but sometimes a little bit over-education and hearing way too many things from different media outlets, from TV, from Twitter, from wherever you're on, and seeing all these diets and seeing people get different results and wondering why you're not getting those results, that can really, really deter people. Another reason is the lack of support. Maybe not everybody's on board with the dietary or exercise changes that you're willing to make, and maybe you just need somebody else to give you that little push, and nobody's really on the same page as you. And then the last one I want to talk about is maybe you just lost motivation. Maybe you got bored doing what you were doing, you found it too easy. And that's also a very common theme, is that people do tend to find things a little bit easier, so they get bored with it. And that's also another thing that we're going to fix right now. So there are 3 myths that I want to talk about as far as behavior goes. And this, I feel like these 3 things, by acknowledging these 3 concepts, it'll help you find where you may have fallen off the wagon. And for those who are on track, maybe these 3 myths will help you improve your behavioral habits even further. So what I'm going to go over is something that Dr. Jenny Cross actually talked about in a TED Talk. I provided a link for you guys if you do want to check out that TED Talk. It's about 20 minutes long, but it goes into more detail about these myths and a little bit more of a, I guess, social norms and things like that. But I want to relate her myths right now to nutrition and nutrition and exercise and lifestyle changes. So the first myth that she talked about, and I think, like I said, I think this YouTube video that I think it's very valuable. That's why I wanted to add this to my PowerPoint. That's why I wanted to talk about it, and I really felt like it provided a lot of great information. But the first myth that I want to talk about is education will change behavior. That's a myth. And you may think, well, wait, if I know something and if I know everything about it, then it'll change my behavior. Well, that's not actually true. Information isn't enough. That's where the action phase actually comes in, because you may know all about what you need to do to make a change, but until you actually do it, you can't make that change. So I want you to think about that and exactly like where you may have, maybe you are thinking too much about things, and maybe you know everything you need to know, but you're not taking that action. And the other thing is, like, if we think we can fill the gaps, then people will make the change, but that's also not necessarily true. So maybe we don't know about fruits, so we look up everything we need to know about fruits and to fill in that gap. But if we don't eat fruits, then it, doesn't matter how much we know about them. Okay, so the important thing that I want you to take away from this is that we need to make your goals tangible, personal to yourself, and then you also need to interact with yourself. You need to provide yourself with that motivation. If it is writing yourself messages or actually eating more vegetables or balancing out your plate, like having that picture of that plate right there to motivate you, or give yourself the opportunity to make the change that you wanted to. So, myth number 2, this is a myth. You need to change your attitude before you change your behavior. That is a myth, because studies have shown that attitudes will not predict behavior. So maybe I have a really bad attitude about, we'll just stick on the fruit topic. Maybe I have a bad attitude about eating fruit, but that's the thing I know I need to change. I'll have a bad attitude about it until I make that change, until I start eating fruit. Then that's when the attitude will change. So to simplify what I just said, because I know that may sound confusing, behaviors predict attitude. So if I eat more fruit, my attitude about fruit should eventually change. If I have a bad attitude about fruit, then my behavior will never change. So connect that to your values. This is what I really want you to do. I want you to connect it to your values, because that's what really matters. When you're thinking about eating fruit, think about it as, I need to eat this fruit to better myself, to better my body, to enhance my nutrition. So that's what I want you to think about when you are actually thinking about your attitude, because eventually that behavior is going to become a habit, and that you know that it's going to make you feel good, so you're going to do it. So that's why that's a myth. So the last myth is that, myth number 3 is that people think they know what motivates them. I'm definitely a victim of this, because I always tell myself, I'm not going to start this homework assignment because I'm not motivated until the last minute. That's not true. That's just the time crunch. That's the pressure there. Like, I'm not actually motivated by that pressure. So don't take this as an insult, because we're all learning about ourselves, and this is a change, and this is the time to make that change. And like I said, this can relate to everything we've done in the past and what you're doing. So make the change meaningful to you. And I know I touched on this before with the fruit and eating it to feel valuable. Make it valuable to yourself, and that's a great motivator. The other thing that is a great motivator is social norms. So what I'm saying is, and this is where it comes into the support. So if the people around you aren't supporting your lifestyle change right now, the social norm is to go against the lifestyle change. So my recommendation to you is to surround yourself with the type of people who do want to make that lifestyle change, or who want you to make that lifestyle change. That's why EFS is great. That's why you're here. It's because you want to make these lifestyle changes, because you want to better yourself. So, surround yourself with people. Find a support group. Come into EFS, because there are people here who will help you and who will guide you in the right direction. So, which is why you're here, and that's why you wanted to be part of EFS. So that's my recommendation as far as social norms. So those 3 myths, I feel like, really relate to if you did kind of lag or fall off the wagon. It's okay. Don't worry, because we're here to fix it right now, and think about these things and try to apply it to make the changes. Now, you may ask, okay, so you just went over everything if I wasn't doing great, but I am doing great. What if everything is going exactly according to plan? Well, great. That's exactly what we wanted. But so now it's time to perform the maintenance phase, and that's pretty much what everybody's doing. We're all performing maintenance right now. So what I really want to go back on and talk about a little bit is, I want to give you 3 tips. First thing I want you to do is assess your accomplishments. What went well, what can we progress, and how can we do it? So since I've been talking about fruit all day, I'm going to keep talking about fruit, because it just seems to be the easiest thing for me to talk about right now. So let's say I did eat fruit for breakfast every day because I wanted to add it. So that went well. That's how we progressed, and how did we do it? Well, the fruit was there. It's the behavior change that we wanted. We provided for us at breakfast, so great. That's how we made the change. So we saw where it worked. So where can we apply that to another thing? Say you wanted to eat more vegetables. Well, you're eating fruit for breakfast, add a vegetable to your lunch. Simple tip, easy way to progress. And you can do that with everything that you're doing right now, whatever your specific goals. Maybe it's weight loss. Okay, maybe I did a very successful and healthy 5-pound weight loss, and my goal is to lose more weight. Well, this is your time to make those adjustments to your food to help yourself out with that, which is great. So, tip number 2, think about your time commitment. So now that you're reassessing your goals, once again, we want to figure out how long it'll take to actually accomplish our new goals, or the things that we want to do, or the things that we want to change, and make it realistic, because even if you didn't make it realistic the first time, we're here right now. We are all a constant work in progress. I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, nobody's perfect. So we're going to keep trying to make adjustments, and everybody can always do something to better their health. So think about that realistically and try to steadily progress. And with steady progression, then we'll see steady changes, and it's healthier and a natural way for a body to develop. So going off of that, tip number 3, keep the motivation. So I want you to ask yourself, if I'm getting bored with a workout, if I'm getting bored with a certain food that, say I eat, the fruit I ate for breakfast was an apple every day, and I'm getting really bored of apples, try something different. Try a fruit salad, try some mangoes, try some strawberries. Do something different to spice it up, because it'll keep the motivation. So ask yourself, how can I do it differently? And then the other thing I want you to do to keep yourself motivated is, what new behavior can I add? Because like we talked about before, behaviors cause good attitudes. So if you want to make your attitude change about something, start a new behavior. So like I said, say you want to eat more vegetables for lunch. Well, add vegetables to your lunch, and maybe your attitude will change, and maybe you can develop that into even something more, something greater, and eventually having the My Plate healthy balance to every meal. And so that's what you can do. So that was the part 2 of making plans. We're going to revisit this again, and keep up the good work. You guys are doing great. Stay motivated and keep making adjustments, and everything will work out. Thank you.